So the title of my presentation is Design, Control, Design, Implementation and Control of a Microgrid with Renewable Integration. The DC microgrid is pretty common nowadays. People have understood how to use the DC microgrid. It is easy to implement and easy to control. Because of the ease of controllability, the DC microgrid is becoming more and more popular. The DC microgrid can be used in a building, in a localized power supply, starting from a few tens of kilowatt, few hundreds of kilowatt, maybe up to a few megawatts also. So whenever we need a localized power supply, we can go for DC microgrid. So my presentation will be a little bit technical in the sense that we have designed and implemented the miniature microgrid in the laboratory. We have also controlled the microgrid in the laboratory environment and got the experimental result. So next slide, please. So the outline of the presentation is as follows, that we'll try to understand the definition of DC microgrid and its components. The DC microgrid will have various components like the utility interface. Most of the microgrid has an interface with the utility to have increased reliability. And then renewable is pretty common. It could be solar, it could be wind. So we have a renewable interface with the microgrid. And then we need to have a storage, because anything can stop functioning. So for example, the utility can go out of order. The renewable energy can vary. It is stochastic in nature, it can vary. So we have to have a storage to ensure that the energy available is most of the time. So we will see how we can interface our energy storage system. And for this application, we have taken a simple battery system. And then followed by that, we will see how we can control the DC microgrid in a coordinated manner with all these components: the utility grid interface, the renewable interface, which is the solar photovoltaic cells, and then we have the battery interface. How we can integrate these three to control the DC microgrid. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, next. So please go back to the previous one. Okay. What is a DC microgrid? As I already said, the DC microgrid is a localized network consisting of energy storage, energy sources storage, and the DC loads with limited power capability. And the power capability can vary from a few tens of kilowatt to a few hundreds of kilowatt. It can be higher than that. I mean, these limits are not exact. It can go up to a few megawatts also, but the lower limit is basically a few tens of kilowatts. DC microgrid is meant for the local utilization of DC power, and it mostly interfaces with the utility grid for increased reliability. Next slide, please. This is the layout of a typical DC microgrid. This is what we have realized in the laboratory. We have the utility grid here. This is the utility grid. And then we have the AC to DC converter, which interfaces the utility grid with the DC bus. The DC bus is basically a low voltage DC bus because we are implementing this in the laboratory. For our own convenience, we have chosen the DC bus voltage to 120 volt. And then we have the photovoltaic interface, PV interface. We have a DC to DC converter, which interfaces the PV with the grid. And then the third voltage source is a battery, the battery is interfaced with the grid through a DC to DC converter. And then we have localized DC load. Nowadays, the loads can be entirely DC, starting from the illumination load to motor loads. We can have brushless DC motors, which can be used as fan, pump application. Even for air conditioners, we can use the BLDC motor, brushless DC motor. So the loads can be entirely DC. I mean, all types of load can be converted to DC loads. So we are talking about a DC utilization system. So we have to integrate all these things, the utility interface, the PV interface, and the battery interface, and control them in a coordinated manner to have a stable DC microgrid. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. So the first part of the interface is the utility interface. Almost all microgrids are connected to the utility because utility gives the microgrid increased reliability. So this is the DC voltage, which is the representative of the DC microgrid, that is VDCR, which is connected to a load because the microgrid usually supplies to the load. And then we have a three-phase voltage source converter, which converts the AC, the grid voltages are VGA, VGB, and VGC to the DC voltage. So we should note that this converter, the utility interface converter, or UIC, is a bidirectional converter in the sense that the power flow can be from the AC side to the DC side or from the DC side to the AC side. So we have the conversion or the power flow can be achieved in both the directions. And the AC inductors, the inductance can have a resistance as well. The AC inductors in the grid side or in the utility side, which is L, is basically used as a filter. This is used as a filter to filter out the ripple from the current. And the objective is this, that when we are using the utility interface to make our grid more reliable, when we are drawing the power from the AC grid, the power should be at unity power factor. It means we are supposed to draw only active power. At the same time, the current IGA, IGB, and IGC should be sinusoidal in nature. It means they don't have much harmonics. So the objectives are the following. This provides a regulated DC voltage with bidirectional power flow, UPF or unity power factor operation, and low current harmonics. And by controlling the voltage across the utility side inductor, that is L, the line currents can be controlled. So the power factor is a unity, which is, and the currents are free from harmonics, and the power flow can be bidirectional depending on whether the DC grid is requiring power or the DC grid is surplus with power. Next slide, please. Okay, that is a question. What are the conventional voltage rating of the DC bus? Actually, there is no standard available. I mean, it depends upon the load that we're using. It could be a few hundreds of volt. It should not be a very high voltage, but for a specific application, it has to meet the load requirement. It could be a few hundreds of volts, maybe 100 volt to 400 volt, in that range. Next slide. Okay. The utility interface converter, or UIC, is controlled in synchronous reference frame. We know that whenever we have a utility, we have a three-phase power supply, and we need to convert these variables into a synchronous reference frame. The advantage of having a synchronous reference frame is that when we convert the AC variables to synchronous reference frame, the variables appear to be DC ones. Now, instead of controlling AC variables in the real ABC phase variables. If we convert them into a synchronous reference frame, we will be actually dealing with DC variables, and hence the DC variables are easy to control compared to AC variables. So the controller design becomes easier in synchronous reference frame. Next slide. So you know that whenever we have a synchronous reference frame, we use DQ. D is the direct axis and Q is the quadrature axis. So we transfer, or we convert ABC, three-phase ABC, into DQ by having a transformation. This transformation involves sine and cosine. Theta is the angle between the phase A and the reference frame. And similarly, we can also have the inverse conversion, which means we can convert DQ into ABC. If we have the variables in the DQ reference frame, DQ is rotating synchronously in the space. ABC are stationary ABC variables. We can have the reverse transformation from DQ to ABC, and second matrix represent the inverse transformation. And what is theta? Theta is the angle, the reference frame and the stationary axis, which is omega. Omega is the angular frequency, which is 2 pi f into the time t. Next slide, please. Now this is the representation of a synchronous reference frame. Now we have this GA, GB, and GC. Excuse me. Are the phases, the grid phase A, grid phase B, and grid phase C, the UTP grid. GA stands for the grid phase A. Similarly, GB is for the grid phase B. GC is for grid phase C. So they are balanced. So for example, these are the three well-defined axes, which are separated from the other by 120 degree, B away from phase A by 120, C away from phase B by 120, and the grid D and grid Q, which are the rotating reference frame, rotating at a speed of angular frequency, that is omega, these are the two variables in the synchronous reference frame, GD and GQ, and we have chosen this angle between GQ and GA to be theta. And theta is a continuously increasing variable because that is omega into t. Omega is angular frequency, t is the time which is constantly increasing. Next slide, please. Now what we do now, that you know that our original equation, if we see that we have the interface with the grid, VGA is the grid voltage, IGA is the grid current or the utility current, R is the resistance, and L is the inductance. So we have a simple equation like the grid voltage is equal to the drop across the resistance plus the drop across the inductance dt. This small p represents di by dt. So it's basically a derivative operator. So for each phase, we can write down this equation: VGA is equal to RIGA plus L di by dt IGA plus the voltage at the input of the converter, that is VSA. If we see that the converter is converting DC to AC, that is a utility interface converter. So for each phase, we can write down the equation: the grid voltage equal to the resistance drop plus the inductance drop plus the converter voltage, because converter is interfacing grid with the DC microgrid, the utility grid with the DC microgrid. So this is basically the matrix equation in the matrix form, which has been obtained from three different equations. And then for the capacitor, the capacitor in the DC link, we have the capacitor current, CRP, small p stands for d by dt. So C d by dt of the capacitor voltage is equal to SA IGA plus SB IGB plus SC IGC. This SA, SB, AC are the switching functions for each phase. We have 3 different phases. If we just go back to our previous slide, I would like to just go back to the previous slide. The previous one, please. The previous one. Again, the previous one. Yeah, this is correct. See, this is basically our converter. The converter has got 3 different phases, A, B, and C. And in each phase, we have 2 switches, S1 and S4 in phase A, they are IGBTs, S3 and S6 in phase B, and S5 and S2 in phase C. So when S1 is on, the point A is connected to the positive side of the DC bus, that is CR, and VDCR is the voltage across the capacitor. And when the load switch is on and the upper switch is off, this S1 and S4 are complementary. Either S1 is on or S4 is on for phase A. So when S4 is on, phase A is connected to the negative side of the capacitor. So in one case, the current becomes positive. The DC link current IDCS is positive, which is IGA. In the other case, that current is negative, which is minus IGA. So the switching function SA will have either 1 or minus 1. Similarly, the switching function in phase B will be either plus 1 or minus 1, depending on whether S3 is on and S6 is on. And in phase C, the switching function is SC, which is plus 1 if S5 is on and minus 1 if S2 is on. So this is how we write equations for each phase and convert this equation in ABC to DQ, which is in synchronous reference frame. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now these are the equations. This IDCR is the load current, which has to be subtracted from this. So the current which is coming from the AC side are SA IGA plus SB IGB plus SC IGC load, the current which goes to the load, that is IDCR, so that we have to subtract. Now what we do here, the first equation which involves 3 phases, VGA, VGB, VC, we transform this into DQ. So after we transform this, you see that we have a derivative here. And the transformation matrix, if you just go one slide before just one more slide before. Yeah, so this transformation matrix involves theta. Now when we differentiate this theta, we get d theta by dt. When we differentiate this matrix, we get d theta by dt, in addition to sine becoming cos and cos becoming minus sine. So when the transformation is applied, we will automatically have a speed term coming to picture. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So after we transform this, we get the previous one. Yeah. So after the transformation, we get here the speed terms minus omega L IDQG plus VSD. So this VSA, VSB, PSC are converted to VSD and VSQ. And because of the transformation, we get the speed term here. And similarly, the capacitor voltage equation is also transformed. We get the derivative of this capacitor voltage, that is the capacitive current, and SA, SB, SC are the 3-phase one. So we can transform that into SD and SQ in DQ variable. So this is how we transform the original ABC equations into DQ equations. So our variables are right now the voltages, the grid voltage in the D axis VGD, the grid voltage in the Q axis, the grid current in the D axis, and the grid current in the Q axis. SD and SQ are realized by transforming the switching functions by using the same transformation. As we transform the voltage, similarly, this SA, SB, SC can be transformed using the same transformation. So this will involve sine and cosine functions. Yeah, next slide. Okay. Now, what is the control objective? The control objective is the following. What we want that the input power factor should be unity. So what we do here, we align the d-axis along the resultant voltage vector. Now, when we align the d-axis along the resultant voltage vector, the q-axis voltage becomes equal to 0, which is very natural because dq are orthogonal to each other. So if we align the voltage along the d-axis, the q voltage will be equal to 0. And since the current should be in phase with the voltage, the current is entirely along the d-axis, and so for UPF operation, for unity power factor operation, I GQ equal to 0. So the current is entirely along the voltage, and the voltage exists only along the d-axis. This is basically a special choice of the reference frame. So this is a choice we have to make, that our d-axis is aligned along the resultant AC voltage vector, which means VQG equal to 0, and the current will be entirely along the d-axis, and hence there is no component of the current along the q-axis. So by using this transformation, IGQ is made equal to 0. This is a special choice. The current controllers are simple proportional integral controller, and the back EMF terms, as we have seen, the speed terms, which involve omega terms, are added to the output of the current controller to improve the response. And in addition to the DQ controller, we also use a separate controller for controlling the DC voltage. Next slide. Now, you see that the details we can discuss it later. Now, the grid can be either balanced or it can be unbalanced. Now, when the grid is balanced, when we transform ABC into DQ, we get only positive sequence voltage. Usually, you see that in an ideal situation or in a practical situation also, the grid is close to balanced condition, unless there is a fault. So, if the grid is balanced, we can assume that the voltages VGA, VGB, VGC, as it is shown in this figure, are equal in magnitude, and they are phase shifted from each other by 120. It means VGB is shifted from VGA by 120, VGC is shifted from VGB by 120, and VGC and VGA are 120 degree apart. Now, if the utility is unbalanced, this doesn't happen. VGA, VGB, VGC are not equal in magnitude. The phase angle also may not be 120 and so on. So when the grid is unbalanced, we can split an unbalanced grid into a positive sequence component, which is VGA, which is for phase A, and negative sequence component for phase A, VGA superscript N, and then also a zero sequence component. It means an unbalanced grid can be decomposed into a positive sequence component, a negative sequence component, and a zero sequence component in general. Next slide, please. So the positive sequence component, GA superscript P, will rotate in the anticlockwise direction with a speed of plus omega. The negative sequence component, VGAN, will rotate in the clockwise direction with a speed of minus omega. That's the negative speed, because the positive sequence and the negative sequence will rotate in the opposite direction. And the zero sequence are cophasal, so the zero sequence doesn't rotate, it stays there, VGA 0. So we can break down for every phase the voltage into a positive sequence component, a negative sequence component, and a zero sequence component. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So we have, no, previous slide. Previous slide one. Okay, no. Next one. Thank you. So VGA consists of VGA-P, VGA-N, positive sequence component, the negative sequence component, and zero sequence component. Similarly, for phase B, we have got a positive sequence component, negative sequence component, and zero sequence component. And VGC will have a positive sequence component, a negative sequence component, and zero sequence component. Not only the voltages, but also the currents, because the grid is supplying some current. So the currents will also be unbalanced. Current will also have a positive sequence component, a negative sequence component, and a zero sequence component for each phase, phase A, phase B, and phase C. So what we see right now, we have got three sequence component, positive, negative, zero. Positive rotates with plus omega, negative rotates with minus omega, and zero sequence component does not rotate because the zero sequence component doesn't produce a rotating field. So we can transform VGA, P, VGB, P, and VGCP after we extract from the grid voltages the positive, negative, and zero sequence component. We can transform the positive sequence component by transformation involving plus omega, and we can transform the negative sequence component by a transformation involving a minus omega, and then we have a zero sequence component which does not need any transformation because the zero sequence component being cophasal that does not produce any rotating. So we have to also apply the synchronous reference frame theory here, but this is called a double synchronous transformation. Why double synchronous transformation? Because we are having two synchronous transformation, one for the positive sequence component, and the transformation will involve plus omega or plus theta, and we have a negative sequence transformation which will involve minus omega or minus theta. Theta is omega into t, omega being constant. We have integration of omega is omega into t, and we have a zero sequence component which does not require any transformation because the zero sequence component are cophasal, they don't rotate. So these are the three sequence component. We have the voltages and we have the currents. The grid is supplying the three-phase voltage and three-phase currents, which have been broken down into positive, negative, and zero sequence component. Next slide, please. Now the interesting thing is this. Now all these sequence components are produced. Why are these sequence components? Because we are actually having a situation where our grid is faulty. Grid is having unbalanced voltages. When the grid is unbalanced voltage, the grid has got unbalanced voltage, naturally the currents will be unbalanced. Now when there is unbalanced voltage and unbalanced current, what happens? When there is balanced voltage and balanced current, everything is steady. The power is steady under balanced voltage and balanced current condition. Because if you see that the three-phase power is the sum of the power in phase A, phase B, phase C, if phase A, phase B, phase C are balanced, the currents are balanced, the power of a three-phase power will be steady. It means the three-phase power will not be oscillatory in nature. But we have a situation where the grid is unbalanced. When the grid is unbalanced, we have seen that the unbalanced grid can be decomposed into a positive sequence component, a negative sequence component, and a zero sequence component. We'll now stop talking about the zero sequence component because the zero sequence component does not contribute to power in that sense. So the positive and the negative sequence component will interact with each other. The positive sequence component current will interact with the positive sequence component voltage. That is fine. But the positive sequence component voltage can interact with the negative sequence component current. The negative sequence voltage can interact with the positive sequence current. And the negative sequence voltage can also interact with the negative sequence current. So when we have interaction between the same sequence voltage and same sequence current, that will be producing a steady injected power to the utility. It means positive sequence voltage interacting with positive sequence current, or the negative sequence voltage interacting with the negative sequence current will lead to steady power because same sequence component. But when we have interaction between opposite sequence voltage and current, positive sequence voltage is interacting with the negative sequence current and negative sequence voltage interacting with the positive sequence current, what is the relative velocity between the positive sequence and negative sequence? It is 2 omega, because the positive sequence is rotating in the anticlockwise direction with the speed of plus omega, and the negative sequence is rotating at a speed of minus omega. So the relative speed is 2 omega. It is something like that. Two vehicles are moving opposite to each other. So if the two vehicles have got speed v or velocity v, the resultant or the relative velocity between the two vehicles will be 2v. Exactly in the same way, the relative speed between the positive and the negative sequence components is 2 omega. So this will be reflected in the power. The power will have a steady component P naught, and will also have oscillatory component. The oscillatory component will have a cos component and also a sine component. And this PC2 and PS2 are because of the interaction of positive sequence voltage with negative sequence current, or negative sequence voltage with positive sequence current. It is not only the active power but also the reactive power. In the reactive power also, we have a steady reactive power, that is Q naught, and we also have a oscillatory reactive power, which is exactly in the same way because of the interaction of the positive sequence voltage with negative sequence current, or negative sequence current. So we have the expression which can be written down for the steady power. You can see that the steady power has got P with P and N with N only. Similarly, the steady reactive power, P with P and N with N, but Q with D. And the real power will have D with D and Q with Q. And similarly, the oscillatory power PC2 will have the interaction of the negative with positive and positive with negative component. Now this can be seen from the equation. The equation shows that the oscillatory component comes because of the interaction of negative with positive or positive with negative sequence. Similarly, the reactive power QC2, and we have the sine component of real power PS2 and sine component of the reactive power QS2. So the oscillatory components are because of the interaction of positive sequence component with negative sequence component. Now, our objective is the following. Our objective is that the power factor should be unity. So if the power factor should be unity, the steady reactive component Q naught should be equal to 0. Because the grid should not supply reactive power, neither it should absorb reactive power. So Q naught, capital Q naught should be equal to 0. Again, we should avoid power oscillation. Power oscillation will basically make the DC link unstable. The DC link, we have a capacitor, we have the grid there. So if there is a power oscillation in the microgrid voltage will go on fluctuating. So the active oscillatory component, not the reactive oscillatory component, because the reactive power can be generated in the converter itself. The reactive power does not reflect in the DC side, but the active power does reflect in the DC side. So PC2 and PS2 should be made equal to 0. So we have three conditions: Q naught equal to 0, and PC2 and PS2 should be equal to 0. Yeah. How are the equations of PS2, PC2 and PS2, etc. are derived? They are not very difficult. When we have the DQ component, we can say, for example, the voltage consists of the voltages are now complex variables. The voltages are now complex variables, which is something like VDG plus J VGQ. The current is also a complex variable, VDG plus J VGQ. We have got similarly for the positive sequence component and negative sequence component. How do we find the real power? The real power is VI conjugate. The total power is S equal to VI conjugate. Now, when we have the variables as complex variables, we are basically dealing with complex quantity. The total power S, which is a complex power consisting of the real power and imaginary power. Imaginary part is a reactive power. So we can say that power S, the complex power S is VI conjugate. So if you take the real component, we get the real power. If you take the imaginary component, we get the reactive power. Applying that, we have derived the equations for the power, the P and the Q in a situation where we have both the positive sequence component and the negative sequence. Next slide, please. Now, we have already discussed that our objective is to make the power oscillation equal to 0. And power oscillations can be made equal to 0 by making the oscillatory component of the real power equal to 0. PC2 and PS2 equal to 0. Which means the active oscillatory power should be equal to 0. And the second condition is that we have to ensure that the power factor is unity. Which means the grid should neither supply any reactive power nor it should absorb any reactive power. That leads to Q naught equals to 0. And the third condition is the following, that we have chosen a grid in which the d-axis is aligned along the resultant voltage vector. So since the d-axis is aligned along the resultant voltage vector, D and Q are quadrature to each other. So VGQ is equal to 0. So the VGQ is equal to 0 because the d-axis is aligned along the resultant voltage vector, and so there is no component of the voltage along the q-axis, which is a very well-known thing because D and Q are right angle to each other. So if D is aligned along the voltage vector, the voltage along Q will be equal to 0. So we have three conditions, and we can so what are the conditions? The first condition is PC2 equal to 0, PS2 equal to 0. So the first has got two equations. The second will have the third equation, which is Q naught equal to 0. And we have to substitute VGQ P equal to 0. So we have three equations, and by applying these conditions, we get this equation from the previous set of equations, which you have already shown. So please go back to the previous slide. Yeah. So Q naught is equal to 0. Okay. So we have one equation. PC2 is equal to 0. We have the second equation. PS2 is equal to 0. We have the third equations. And the quadrature component of the voltage is equal to 0. So which means VGQP equal to 0. So whenever we find VGQP, we equate that to 0. So we have got three equations which are obtained by equating Q naught equal to 0, PC2 equal to 0, and PS2 equal to 0. Next slide. So from these three equations, next slide, please. Next slide. No, the slide is not changing. Next slide, please. Thank you. No. Okay, previous one. Okay, thank you. So this is the equations. This is the matrix form that we have got. And these are the variables which are in violet color. Those VGQP, VGDN, and VGQN. These three variables have to be evaluated. They are basically the reference currents. So the reference current, how many reference currents we have? We have to have VGDP, the positive sequence d-axis current, because our control is not in ABC. Control is actually in the DQ reference frame. Control is synchronous reference frame, which is basically the DQ reference frame. And in synchronous reference frame, we now have 4 references. The 4 currents, 2 currents are for the positive sequence component, 2 currents are for the negative sequence component. So the currents which we have to evaluate are VGD, P on the right hand side, and then the variables in the left hand side, VQ, VG, QP, VGDN, and VGQN. Next slide, please. Yes. So from the previous equation, by just taking a matrix inversion, we will get these 3 currents, which are the grid reference currents. In a very general situation, the general situation means grid can be balanced or it can be unbalanced. If the grid is balanced, fine. If the grid is balanced, there is no negative sequence component, there is no zero sequence component. But if the grid is unbalanced, we have a negative sequence component and a zero sequence component. The zero sequence is ignored because that doesn't take part in total power transfer. And so we have to only concentrate on positive and the negative sequence component. So we have to evaluate 4 currents, and the currents are on the left hand side, IGQP, IGDN, IGQN, and then we have the current which is in the right hand side as well, which is IPGD. And this is generated by the DC link voltage controller. This is basically the current which is responsible for the active power, because this interacts with VGDP to give us the active power. So it's responsible for the main active power flow between the AC utility and the DC microgrid. So this is generated by the DC link voltage controller. Next slide, please. Yes. So there are some questions actually, like how to separate the negative sequence component. Yes, so we have to run an algorithm to extract the negative sequence component from the grid. We can have a transformation from the VA, VB, VC to the positive sequence component and negative sequence component. We have the matrix which can convert the positive sequence component, the grid voltages, into the respective sequence component. Similarly, we can sense the currents, the grid currents, and by having that matrix, we have to have a phase lock loop. By phase lock loop, we can find out the frequency, and so we know the frequency, that is omega. So by using the correct transformation, we can transform the grid voltages into the positive sequence component and negative sequence component. So the main control objective of utility interface converters are the following. We have to regulate the DC link voltage, which is the microgrid voltage. The power flow can be bidirectional, depending on whether the microgrid is surplus with power or microgrid has power. Okay, and we have the utility power factor operation, and we have to have good quality of line currents, and we have to attenuate the power oscillation under unbalanced condition. It means when the voltages are unbalanced, the power oscillation have to be suppressed. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is the overall control scheme of the utility interface converter. Now I'll just go one by one. First of all, let us see that we have the generation of IGDP from the DC link voltage. We have a reference. We have to maintain a reference DC link voltage, which is VDCR star, we have to feedback. We have to measure the actual DC voltage. So we can use a Hall effect sensor. We can measure the actual DC voltage and feed here at this point. And then we have a simple PI controller, and the output of the PI controller is VGDP. So one of the reference current is already known here. And then from the grid voltages are VGD, VGA, VGB, and VGC. And so from the grid voltages, we measure the grid voltages by using voltage sensors, and then we transform this grid voltage into the positive sequence component and negative sequence component. So we have got the positive sequence component VGAP, VGBP, and VGCP. Similarly, VGAN, VGBN, and VGCN. So we extract the positive sequence and the negative sequence components from the input grid voltage, and we have a synchronous reference frame PLL. So we operate that PLL on the positive sequence voltage. So we get the frequency information, that is omega and the type D, and then we transform the ABC into DQ by using the synchronous transformation. So we have got the voltages, the grid voltages, so we can transform from ABC to DQ. So we get VGDP and VGQP, the positive sequence component. Similar the currents. We have got phase A and phase B. See, the currents, if we measure the two currents, we get the third current, because we have the Kirchhoff's current law, IA plus IB plus IC equal to 0. So if we know simple IA and IB, we can find out IC. So here we don't have to have Hall sensor for the three phases to measure three different currents. We just measure phase A and phase B currents, and we calculate the phase C current from that, and from ABC we can transform using the same transformation which involves omega t for the positive sequence component to get the DQ reference frame currents. So we have got the voltage, the positive sequence voltage in synchronous reference frame, and positive sequence current in the synchronous reference frame. Similarly, from the negative sequence voltage and negative sequence current, we use the transformation which involves minus omega t. So by involving the transformation having minus omega t, so we transform the grid voltages, the negative sequence voltage, into VGDN and VGQN. So we also use the same transformation for the currents, the negative sequence current, to transform ABC into DQ, that is IGDN and IGQN. So we apply the transformation for the positive sequence component, the synchronous transformation. We apply the synchronous transformation for the negative sequence component. So we get the actual grid currents, and then by using the previous equation, we get the reference grid currents. Reference grid currents are IGDP, IGQP, and IGDN and IGQN star. The star currents are the reference currents, and these are the currents which you obtain after transformation are the actual currents. So we have 2 controllers. So we have 4 controllers, 2 current controllers for the positive sequence component, which is IGDP and IGQP, and 2 current controllers for the negative sequence component. So that is IGDN and IGQN, and we have simple PI controllers here. And then when we use synchronous transformation, we have a back EMF that has an omega term, so we add it, and then we get the corresponding voltages. Our voltages in the DQ reference frame, we have got 2 sets of voltage, one for the positive sequence component and one for the negative sequence component, not in ABC but in DQ. So we have got VSDP, VSDQ, that's for the converter. So we have come to the converter, from the grid to the converter, and then VSDN and VSQN are for the converter, and converter has a DC link voltage of VDCR. So we divide by 2 VDCR to get the corresponding modulation index. So we get the modulation index in the DQ reference frame, the two modulation index for the positive sequence component and two modulation index for DQ in the negative sequence component. Then we use transformation to transform DQ into ABC. We know that the transformation is reversible. So we can transform DQ into ABC. So we use omega t transformation to transform DQ into ABC for the positive sequence component. We use minus omega t to transform DQ into ABC for the negative sequence component. And we add these two modulation index because the voltage ultimately has got all sequence components, positive and negative. So we get the total modulation index for each phase MA, MB, MC, and we use a simple sine triangle PWM for the utility converter. We can use a sine triangle PWM or any other PWM. If you use a sine triangle PWM, it is very simple. We compare this the modulation index with the triangular wave, and we get the switching pattern or the switching signals for phase A, phase B, and phase C. So this is how we control the utility interface converter. The objective is we make it operate in a unity power factor, and we make the power oscillation, the active power oscillation, 0, and hence the DC link has got the steady power flow here. Next slide. Next slide.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have one question here from my side. Like here you have discussed about the reference for this PI controller is the voltage, and like input and reference both is the voltage. So could you give little more description about how we are getting the output currents, please?
Okay. See, the DC link voltage VDCR is decided by how much active power is fed from the converter to the grid. And active power is basically realized by interaction of VGDP with VGD with IGDP. Active power is interaction with the voltage with current, in-phase voltage with in-phase current. And we have also said that by special choice of reference frame, we have aligned our d-axis along the voltage, along the grid voltage vector. So VGQ or IGQ is equal to 0. So VGQ equal to 0 and IGQ equal to 0. So if we want to increase the capacitor voltage, we have to draw more active power. If you want to decrease the capacitor voltage, we have to reduce the active power from the input. So the active power is basically realized by the difference of the reference DC link voltage and actual DC link voltage. It means if the DC link voltage comes down, it means the grid is depleted of active power, and active power has to be brought from the grid. So IGD has to be increased. Active power is only increased by increasing IGD. And active power is reduced by reducing IGD, because IGD is the only current that involves active power. So if we want to increase the active power, suppose we have to charge the capacitor. If the capacitor has to be charged, we have a load. The load is discharging the capacitor, but the charging action has to be done by the three-phase inverter. And this power has to come from the AC grid. So if you want to increase the capacitor voltage, IGD has to be more. If you want to reduce the DC link voltage, IGD has to be less. So the error of the capacitor voltage gives a measurement of IGD. So the error is fed to a proportional integral controller, and the output is IGD. And IGD is one of the variables which is obtained like this. And by using IGD and with the knowledge of VGD P, VGD N, and VQG N, we can evaluate the remaining three currents, which are the respective currents. So they are realized to make the reactive power equal to 0, number one, and to reduce the oscillation in the active power. As we have seen by the previous equation, the equations, this current calculator has got the equations only. This current calculator is basically a set of equations to which we feed IGD, P, and we also feed VGDP, VGDN, VGQN. So this current calculator is basically given in the previous slide. In the previous slide, if you see the previous slide, we get the set of equations, and the set of equations are realized or incorporated within the current calculator. So the current calculator is a real-time implementation of this equation. So we have to have a powerful DSP or a signal processor or a microcontroller which can execute this equation in real time to evaluate what are the reference currents. Out of the 4 reference current, 1 of them are obtained from the simple error actually, which is the error between the reference DC link voltage and actual DC link voltage. So IGDP is obtained directly. So we can draw a straight line here also. IGDP goes directly. IGDP doesn't require any calculations, but the remaining 3 currents do require calculations. So IGDP is obtained from the simple PI controller, and IGQP, IGDN, and IGQN are basically obtained by solving these equations. We have a simple matrix multiplication. By using that multiplication, we can get the currents from the respective grid voltages. Next slide, please. Is it okay? Okay, so these are the parameters of the utility interface controller. We have a reduced voltage, that is 35 volt in the grid voltage. The DC link voltage is 120. So our microgrid voltage is 120. The switching frequency is 8 kilohertz. The inductor is 8 millihenry. The DC link side capacitance is 2,200 microfarad or 2.2 millifarad. Then we have the current controller for the 4 current controllers for the positive sequence component, the 2 positive sequence component, G and D, and 2 negative sequence component, G and D. And the current controller are having the same gains, the proportional gain and the integral gains. And then we have the voltage controller has got the gain, which is the input side voltage controller, that is the reference voltage controller, VDCR, star and VDC. That has got the gain, the proportional gain of 0.7 and the integral gain of 30. Okay, so these are basically evaluated. We have used some technique, but ultimately our simulation, after using those values that we have obtained from the transfer function, we have tried the simulation, and from the simulation we have fine-tuned. By using the simulation, we have fine-tuned the values. Next slide, please. So this is a simulation result on the left-hand side. So the phase A grid voltage VGA, which is shown this particular fashion, and then we have the current. So the voltages and current in phase. So we see that the power factor is unity, and we see that the DC side voltage is constant, almost constant, that is 120. The pink color is basically the DC link voltage, which is close to 120. And the DC link current is the light blue color, that is about 2 amperes. The experimental thing we have shown from an oscilloscope. So we again see that the voltages and currents, the voltage and currents are in phase, so the power factor is unity, and the voltage is constant, and the current is also almost constant in the DC side. There's no power oscillations here. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have analyzed the currents for the total harmonic distortion. So we have seen that the utility phase current has got total TSD of something around 4.5%, which is acceptable as per the IEEE standard. So we have the various sequence components. So it means the utility side converter is working satisfactorily. So we are drawing the current, but the current doesn't have much harmonic. Harmonics, the total harmonic distortions in each phase is less than 5%. So this we have seen from a power quality analyzer. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. This is the renewable energy interface. So what we have used here, we have used the PV, the photovoltaic panel in the laboratory. What we did, we simulated a photovoltaic panel, although we did not have on the rooftop there was photovoltaic panel, but for the experiment we have assumed that the voltage are around 68 volt constant, and this uses a boost converter. This is actually the interface between the photovoltaic panel and the grid. The DC microgrid is having 120 volt, and VP is having 68 volt. So we have a boost converter here, and usually when we have a real photovoltaic panel, we use an MPPT. MPPT stands for maximum power point tracking. So this ILP star, which is shown in the control input here, the reference input is actually obtained from the MPPT controller, which runs in the background, maximum power point tracker, which gives a reference current. The actual current of the inductor is basically sensed by means of a Hall sensor, ILP. It sends from Hall sensor, then and these two are compared, and then we have a compensator, and then we decide the switching signal of the IGBT, or the switching pulses of the IGBT. So the IGBT is operated in the boost mode to control the current, and so 68 volt in the input side and 128 volt in the output side. Next slide, please. So these are the various parameters. We have the input side voltage is 68 volt. The output side voltage here is 120 volt. The switching frequency is 20 kilohertz, which is all right because this is beyond the audible range. The input side capacitance here, CP, is 0.1 millifarad or 100 microfarad. So we have the various gains, which are shown here. We also have output capacitance here, PCG, and also the input inductor. So the photovoltaic interface converter is pretty straightforward, which converts 68 volt to 120 volt. And in case of a practical photovoltaic panel, we can have a maximum power point tracking algorithm running in the background, which gives the reference current of the panel, that is ILP, that varies.
Hello, Dr. Rajiv. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, is the Professor Das has disconnection? No, it is
yeah, I think there is some connection problem at that end, or some.
Yes, he came back.
Is it okay? Am I audible right now?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the photovoltaic panel interface converter scheme. By using this MPPT background, MPPT runs in the background. So we have the feedback current ILP here, which is the current of the inductor. We can have a Hall sensor to feedback this current, and then we have a compensator which is used for generating the switching signal for this IGBT. So this converter operates in the boost mode to convert 68 volt to 128 volt output. Next slide, please. So this is some simulation result, and we have experimental result. So here we apply a step change in the input current. It means suppose the solar intensity changes quickly. So the ILP will change quickly. It could be a step, or it could be a ramp signal. The step is an extreme case. So we see that the actual current follows the reference quite fast. Of course, there is some oscillation because we have used a step change in the current. However, this yellow line is basically the the DC microgrid voltage, which is at 128 volt. There is not much change in that voltage. So the microgrid voltage is pretty stable. So with the change in the input current, which means if there is solar energy available, we have a change in the solar energy. So the current has to increase from the photovoltaic converter. So this current is injected to the microgrid. So the microgrid absorbs this current, and this current can be used to either charge the battery or supply to the load. And the right hand side, we have the experimental result. This yellow one is the microgrid voltage, which is almost stable. And then again, this the green one is the reference current, and the pink colored one is basically the actual current. Next slide, please. So we have the energy storage system. The energy storage here involves 4 batteries, 4 lead acid battery, which are sealed battery, and these 4 batteries, each one is having a voltage of something like 12.5 volts. So the battery has totally, when they're connected in series, has got 50 volt. So we have 4 lead acid batteries, which are connected to 120 volt microgrid. We have the battery interface converter. So the battery interface converter converts this 50 volt to 120 volt. This can operate in 2 ways. The battery can either charge or it can discharge. Battery can store power, and it can also give power. So these 2 switches, which are SB1 and SB2, if we use it in the discharge mode, it means the battery should be giving power to the microgrid. Microgrid has a voltage of 120 volt. Battery has got a voltage of 50 volt. So SB2 has to be operated. So SB1 is off and SB2 is operated for discharging of the battery. So this is the discharging mode, and the converter operates in the boost mode from 50 volt to 120 volt. So for that, SB2 should be operated and SB1 should be completely off. And each IGBT or each power switch has got a feedback diode or the anti-parallel diode. So the discharging of the battery happens through the inductor when we close the switch, and the current goes to the microgrid when the switch SB2 is off. So when we discharge the battery, SB2 is operated and SB1 permanently remains off. And when the battery has to be charged, SB2 is permanently off and SB1 is operated. So when the battery has to be charged, 120 volt is converted to 50 volt. So this operates in the buck mode. So there are 2 modes of operation. Boost mode is for the discharging and buck mode is for the charging. So here it's mentioned here the converter operates in buck mode under charging and in boost mode for discharging the battery. Next slide, please. So this is a buck mode operation, which means the battery is being charged. So when the battery is being charged here, we see that this switch SB2 is permanently off. So we have removed this. So voltage 120 volt is converted to 50 volt. SB1 is operated in on-off mode, and the battery is charged. And the battery is charged at the constant current charging. So the charging of the battery happens at constant current. And that is decided by the ceiling current of the battery. So suppose we have a battery of, let's say, 50 ampere hours. So roughly we can charge this something like 1/5 of the ampere hour rating, like maximum we can go up to 10 ampere for charging, for C/5 charging. So the reference charging current is decided by the manufacturer's rating, which is available in the data sheet. At current, the battery should be charged. So for the charging, we operate in the buck mode. Next slide, please. And when the microgrid is deficit in power and we have sufficient capacity available in the battery, so we have to understand that we have to evaluate the state of the charge of the battery. When the state of the charge of the battery is higher than over 40%, battery will be allowed to operate in the discharging mode, which means it can supply power to the microgrid if the state of the power is higher than 40%. So how do we evaluate the state of the charge or SOC? The state of the charge of the battery is evaluated by Coulomb counting. Hence,
I think again Professor Das has been disconnected due to some.
okay, now is it okay now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, it is audible.
okay. So we are using this in the boost mode for discharging, which means the battery has to supply the power to the microgrid. So what we do here, the objective is to maintain a constant microgrid voltage. The microgrid is about 120 volt. So that is a reference voltage, that is VD star here. And we use a sensor to sense the actual microgrid voltage, that is VD, and we feed back here. And then we have the voltage compensator. The voltage compensator generates the reference current of the inductor, which is ILB star. And then we have a Hall sensor to sense the inductor current, that is ILB, and the inductor current is fed back here. And then we have a current compensator, and the current compensator generates the switching signal of the IGBT. So we have two loops here. One is the voltage loop. The outer loop is the voltage loop, which basically regulates the microgrid voltage. And then the inner loop is the current loop, which regulates the current of the inductor. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the specification of the battery interface converter. The battery voltage is 50 volt because we have 4 lead acid batteries in series. The microgrid voltage is 120 volt. The switching frequency is 20 kilohertz, and the battery side inductor is 3.1 millihenry. The battery side capacitance is 110 microfarad. The microgrid capacitance is 330 microfarad on the microgrid side. Then we have the parameter of the current controllers and the parameter of the voltage controllers. Next slide, please. We have the simulation result for the battery interface converter. Now we can see that the battery voltage here is very close to 50 here, and then this is ILB. So this is a negative current. So the negative means we are basically discharging the grid, discharging the battery. And then the DC link voltage is exactly 120 volt. And then we have the corresponding experimental result. We have The green one is the inductor current, which is also negative here. And then we have the grid voltage, the DC grid voltage is 120 volt. And then we have the battery voltage, which is close to 50 volt. So we have the simulation on the left-hand side and experimental results on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. So this shows the simulation and hardware result for boost mode. So boost mode means it's basically the discharging mode. So discharging mode here, we start with, let's say, VD. So VD is 120 volt. That's the yellow plot. So and then what we have, we give a step change in the current. So we give a step change in the current. So it is discharging. So here also the actual current follows this is ID here. So the load current here. So these two follow each other, and the battery voltage is constant, close to 50 volt. Now, what we do here is that whenever there is a change in the discharging mode, it is basically a voltage control mode. Whenever there is a load change, the grid voltage changes. So that basically generates the reference ILB. The reference ILB is basically generated by change in the DC grid voltage. So we have already seen that we have two loops. One is the voltage loop, another is the current loop. The voltage loop generates the reference current, that is ILB, and the actual current follows the reference current. So the DC microgrid is again brought back to the stable situation, close to 120. So on the right hand side, we have a similar situation. This is the experimental result. The yellow plot is for the DC microgrid voltage, close to 120. And then the green one is the reference inductor voltage. And the pink one is the actual inductor current. And then the blue one is the battery voltage. The battery voltage is almost constant, and the battery operates in the discharging mode, which means conversion from 50 volt to 120 volt. Next slide. Okay. Now control of the microgrid. So we have three different components. You see, what are the various components here? We have discussed the utility interface converter, which interfaces with the utility, AC to DC. And then we have the photovoltaic interface converter, PVI.
Again, Professor Das has been disconnected due to poor connectivity. Please be patient. We'll join.
We call them as parallel operation.
Yes, sir.
When we connect many voltage sources in parallel, we call them parallel operation of the voltage sources. It could be parallel operation of two generators, but in this case, we have got parallel operations of three independent sources. One is the AC utility grid. The second one is the photovoltaic source. The third one is the battery source. So we have three different voltage sources, and three different voltage sources are connected in parallel across the microgrid. So we have a situation in which the voltage sources are connected in parallel. They have to follow a common rule for sharing the load. The load is an independent entity, and the load is regulated by the customer, or the consumer decides the load. And when the load increases, the power flow from the three different sources have to be as per their ratings. So we use a droop method to share the load. The droop method basically simulates a virtual resistance. Now, if you see this block diagram, we have actually three voltage sources, and each voltage source has a reference. And the reference has to be 120 volt, okay? Because we want that the microgrid should be having 120 volt. But 120 volt is an ideal situation. We cannot guarantee that our grid will remain at 230 volt all the time. It can change to 230 to 225, maybe to 200, depending upon the load of the system. It could be 240 in certain conditions. So when the load is more, there is a voltage droop, and the droop is necessary to keep the system stable. Otherwise, the system will go haywire. So for three different voltage sources, for each voltage source, we use a droop control method. It means we have a fictitious resistance here, which is K, which is multiplied with the corresponding load current, corresponding current drawn from that DC source to decide VDC star. So it means if we are drawing more and more load from the battery, let us say, the battery reference will gradually decrease. Similarly, if we are drawing more and more load from the PV converter, the PV converter reference will also decrease. Similarly, if we draw more and more current from the utility interface converter, the utility interface converter DC voltage will gradually decrease. So it means that converter will basically give less and less voltage. So automatically the current will be regulated. So this is a droop method of sharing power, and the droop is decided based on the corresponding rating. If a source is a strong source, if the battery has got a lot of ampere hour, this K can be very small for the battery storage. But if the battery is a small battery having a reduced ampere hour, K can be relatively higher. Similarly, if we have a lot of PV interface, how will the system know that we have so much of PV interface? So if we have, let us say, 500 kilowatt of PV available, so corresponding K can be made smaller. So the value of K will be different for different sources depending upon the power rating available for that particular source. So when they are operated in parallel, although we have connected three different voltage sources, each voltage source will be drawing or will be supplying power proportional to its rating. So that is achieved by a decentralized controller, and that is basically done by the droop controller. Next slide, please. So you know that we are basically controlling the battery charging and the discharging by state of the charge method. So we have to measure the state of the charge by counting. So we measure the various voltages, currents, and so on. VD is basically the grid voltage, the microgrid voltage. ID is the microgrid current. VB is the battery. So this is a battery management system, basically. So we find the state of the charge of the battery constantly. And we also monitor the microgrid voltage. If the microgrid voltage is less than the 90% of the rating, means 120 into 0.95, if it is true, and if the SOC is higher than 40%, then the battery goes into discharging mode. Battery supplies to the microgrid because battery has got a lot of charge available here, so it can supply to the microgrid. But if the microgrid voltage is less, but the battery state of the art charge is less than 40%, we have to go to the halt mode. It means the microgrid is not sustainable. We have to shut down the microgrid here because it is not guaranteed that under all conditions our microgrid will be giving us stable power. If the power is not available, what we can do? We have to shut down the microgrid. Similarly, if the grid voltage is not less than 95% of the voltage, and if it is not higher than 105% of the voltage, then we continue to operate in the earlier operating mode. It means the microgrid is operating under normal condition, not less than 95, not higher than 105%. And if it is more than 105% of the voltage, and if the battery has got a lot of charge available, it means the state of the charge is more than 90. It means we have surplus of power available. Suppose we have very less load. Think of a situation that load is almost zero. Okay, and we have a bright sunshine, lot of solar energy is available, and battery is fully charged. But the load is not there. So what we have to do? And the voltage is gradually increasing. The voltage is gradually increasing, we have to shut down the microgrid. Otherwise, we will exceed 105% of the rated voltage. And if the state of the charge of the battery is not higher than 90%, we can go to charging mode of the battery. This is basically for the battery management system, which we have incorporated to decide whether the battery should be operated in the charging mode or in the discharging mode. Next slide, please. So this is how we have connected 3 different converters with the microgrid. The microgrid is basically a single bus having 120 volt here. We have connected the battery interface converter, which is the energy storage system. We have connected the PV interface converter, which is the photovoltaic converter, which is the renewable part of the system. And then we have the utility interface converter, which connects the AC with the microgrid. So we have got 3 parallel situations, and of course we have the load. The loads are the DC loads. So these 3 systems are operated with Drupe controller method, decentralized way, to ensure that we have a stable microgrid. Next slide, please. This is actually the simulation of the overall microgrid control. Now let us, this IMG, the bottom line is basically the, this is the load. IMG is the load. And IPM is the photovoltaic current. IPM is a photovoltaic current. IUG is utility grid current. IG is the battery current. Now let's see the situation here. The microgrid was initially stable at 120 volt. Okay. Now let us say near about let's say 0.65. Near about 0.65, what we have here, we have the load is still lower. We don't have any load, but you see it was night. Now the sun shines. We have the early morning. The panels are lighted, and we have a lot of solar generation. The solar generation has started because of the availability of the sun. So this blue line, dark blue, IPM, that goes high, and we don't have any load here. The bottommost one is the load, which is 0. The load has got, we don't have any DC load here, but we have got a lot of sunshine. So the current is available in the microgrid. What will the current do here? The current will ultimately raise the voltage. So this current will be used to feed back to the AC grid. So the advantage of having an AC grid is that whenever the load is low, the AC grid will absorb the solar energy. So this pink mark or this trace, which is IUG, shows that the current is negative. It means the AC microgrid is AC grid is basically absorbing power. The utility grid is absorbing the solar energy. So the AC mains is absorbing the solar energy here. So it basically goes like this, and then sun becomes less brighter. At 1 second, the brightness little falls. So when the brightness falls, the injection to the grid also reduces, and then the load increases at something close to 1.1 second. The load increases at 1.1 second, and this load has to come from the solar and also from the AC mains. So the AC will, the utility grid, as I already said, there's the reliability of the microgrid. So the utility grid will partly supply the load and partly it will be supplied by the PV source. And then the load almost remains constant. The PV generation goes low. When the PV generation goes low, the load will be supplied increasingly from the AC grid. And when the AC grid which will hit the limit, the battery is fully charged now. Battery state of the art is higher than 90, so it can operate in discharge mode. So the green color one is the battery current. The battery will take over, and hence the AC mains current will reduce. So the load will be shared by the battery, not by the AC mains. And the solar energy is not available; it's almost gone. But the load is partly shared by the AC mains and by the battery. And then ultimately the load goes down at 2.3 seconds. And when the load goes down, the AC mains also goes down. There is no power drawn from the AC mains. So as the battery will also reduce its current. So this is a simulation of the overall microgrid control, which shows that the microgrid is operating satisfactorily. Next slide, please. So we have experimentally also implemented this. So this yellow one is basically the microgrid voltage, which is 120 volt, and then the green one is corresponding to the battery one, and then the utility grid is represented by this pink colored one, and the other one is the photovoltaic current, which is IPM. So we see that one thing we can observe, that when the photovoltaic increases, the load on the utility grid decreases. Utility grid was earlier sharing the load, but when the solar is available, utility grid will be less burdened, and the power will be drawn from the solar. So utility grid current will reduce with the availability of the solar current. So the idea is this: when we have independent controller, they are not centralized. They are all independent controller, only linked by means of group control method. We did not have a centralized controller here. Each unit is controlled by independent controller. It's a decentralized control, but a stable control. So each one is a stable system, and they basically take over depending upon their requirement and with the availability of the battery state of the charge. So experimentally also we have seen that the microgrid is operating satisfactorily. Next slide. So this is similarly for when we have a step change in the load, we see that the current, the utility is taking over. So this basically shows that the utility is supplying the current when there is no solar generation. Next slide. Now what happens if the utility is not there? That is called islanded mode. When the utility is not there, when we have load which is increasing, EM is increasing, it has to be supplied from the battery. So when the utility is not there, the battery and the photovoltaic, battery is IBG and the photovoltaic is IPM. When the PV starts off, the burden on the battery reduces. So they basically share. The utility is gone, so basically they are shared by the PV and by the battery, and the DC voltage is stable voltage in the islanded mode. So islanded mode means the AC grid is not present, so the load is basically shared either from the battery or from the photovoltaics. Next slide. So this is basically the laboratory setup. We have used the IGBT converter. So This is the battery interface converter BIC, which is a bidirectional converter operating in the boost or buck mode. Then we have the battery down below. We have 4 lead acid battery maintenance free batteries, each having close to 12.5 volt. And then we have loads here. Since we have DC, we have used simple resistive loads. It could be a fan load, it could be a brushless DC motor, but in our laboratory experiment, we have used simple resistive loads for DC. And we have the L filter in the AC side. We have seen that L filter. They're placed inside a shielded cabin so that they don't generate any noise. This is the utility interface converter and this white colored box. This has got the full IGBT converter, and this is controlled by IGBT. So the system is basically controlled by DSP. The DSP is programmed from the computer. We have the power quality analyzer to measure the harmonics which are generated by the current, the total harmonic distortion. So this is a view of the overall system in the laboratory. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is the DSPs that I was talking about, which are used for control. These DSPs are programmed from the computer. We have the DSP interface circuits. And this is our utility interface converter on the right hand side. And in the left hand side, we have the battery interface converter. Next slide, please. This is the photovoltaic interface converter. The photovoltaic interface this is about a few kilowatt, possibly. But it was sufficient to implement this in the laboratory to see that system is working fine. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we are at the end of the presentation. So we have seen that we have 3 different converter units.
Again, Professor Das has been disconnected.
We have 2 parallel DSPs, which are used to make the overall implementation. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I can take up the question.
Thank you so much, Professor Das, for this insightful and in-depth discussion for this session. And you have also seen that our audience has also enjoyed very well, and it has appeared from their comments. So they have put a lot of comments in front of me. So one by one, I will put in front of you.
Okay. I'll try to answer.
Yes. The first question is how you have chosen current and voltage controller gain value.
Okay, see, current and voltage controller are basically initially are obtained by extracting the individual transfer functions of the control loop. But these are theoretical values. So when we implemented or when we substituted those values, the controllers were not operating satisfactorily. So we have to fine tune it. So although we have the gains of the controller theoretically, we have finally used trial and error method to validate the controllers by means of simulation. So we have used the values close to the theoretical value, got the exact value, simulating those things in MATLAB Simulink. So the final one is by trial and error using MATLAB Simulink.
The next question, Professor Das, is that can QC2 and QS2 be reduced to 0, or these components are always present?
Okay. QC2 and QS2 need not be reduced to 0 because they are the reactive power. Reactive power are present only on the AC side. They are not present in the DC side. So in the DC link side, see, our microgrid should be stable. So the active power oscillations will be directly reflected in the DC side. So this will create difficulty in the operation of the microgrid. So the microgrid should be very stable. So which means that the active power oscillations should be reduced. Reactive power can be locally generated by the controller. Reactive power oscillations we are not that bothered about. Reactive power oscillation hardly matters. Okay. So for example, in a power system oscillation, the power system will not be unstable because of reactive power oscillation. It will be unstable with active power oscillations. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And the second, another question is that at what voltage level the THD should be below 5% is acceptable? Is it valid for any voltage level?
I mean, which one actually? Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, sir. At what voltage level the THD should be below 5% is acceptable?
Okay. Right. Very good question. Thank you for asking. See, we have a IEEE standard, IEEE 519. Now, these THD levels are defined in various Boss voltage and various short circuit ratio. Now, for the low voltage grid, it is something like 5%. Low voltage grid, which means that the short circuit ratio is not very high. It means it has got a lot of internal impedance. So if you have higher than 5%, that will create problem. So this is basically for a low voltage grid that this should be less than 5%.
Hello.
Higher grid, when the grid is a stronger grid, it can sustain higher TSDs as well. But a low voltage grid is at the distribution side. This has got a lot of internal impedance from the distribution side. So transformer, the transmission line, the distribution line, all contribute to internal impedance. So the harmonics should be less than 5%. But if the grid is a strong grid, if the internal impedance is, it can sustain or it can withstand. If the grid is a stronger one, it can withstand higher level of harmonics. But for a small grid, it should be 5%. Exact detail, the numerical values are available in IEEE 519 standard.
Thank you, Professor Das. Another question is that our audience has enjoyed a lot. That's why they have put a lot of questions.
Okay.
Another important question is that how we will calculate the internal resistance and parallel RC value in case of cell equivalent circuits, which are parameters for battery for measuring SOC.
Okay, see SOC, we are measuring by a Coulomb counting method. By integrating the current, we are finding out the state of the charge. We have not used an equivalent circuit. We have started with the initial charge. We assume that the charge is available, certain charge, and then we use a simple integrator to integrate the current. If you integrate the current, but you get charge. So by using a simple integrator with the initial value, we are evaluating the charge. We are not using an equivalent circuit. So, I mean, one can find out the equivalent resistance. And after all, resistance of the battery is a constantly varying value. The resistance is a function of the state of the charge. So we have used simple integration of current to find out the charge.
Thank you so much, Professor Das. Still questions are coming, and I will request all my audience to can directly contact or write to Professor Das. He can answer each and every question for you. And now I would like to hand over this session to Dr. Shubho to give a warm vote of thanks to Professor Das.
Thank you, Dr. Gurfan. It is my pleasure to give the vote of thanks to Professor S.P. Das, sir. He has nicely covered the aspects of unbalanced utility, UIC control scheme, and beautifully explained the Drupe method for controlling, as well as he had demonstrated and explained very nicely the simulation and hardware results before us. So thank you, sir, for the nice presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you very much. So this is actually one project which we simulated in the laboratory. Also, we have implemented a prototype in the laboratory and validated the simulation result. They reduced.
Sir, Sir, I have one question. The question is that why we are choosing two different types of converters, that can be boost converter, that is boost converter, as well as buck converter. We can use combined topology, that can be buck boost converter or CPEC converter. Can it be possible for charging or discharging of battery, sir?
See, we have to take a very simple converter. This is a half bridge topology, which can be operated either in the boost mode or in the buck mode. Boost mode means the battery is being discharged. Buck mode means the battery is being charged. So a battery interface converter has to be bidirectional in nature, which means the battery needs to be sometimes charged and also is required to be discharged when there is a demand on the battery side. So we have to use a simple topology which should have both charging mode and charging mode. This is one of the topologies which is available, which is also widely used. This is not a unique one. This is already available. So what we have done here, we have integrated the thing to our microgrid. In the microgrid, we have used this half bridge topology so that the battery can be charged using mode, and the battery, if required, can be discharged using a boost mode. So,
thank you, sir.
Overall topology has to be simple one and simple to control.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for the nice presentation. Thank you all. It was a very nice session. So
yes, really, it was a very nice session. That is still our audience are putting the question in front of Professor Das.
So
they have enjoyed
we will try
really well.
Sir, we will try to collect the questions and we will send it to sir.
Surely.
Or we'll provide the email link of sir, so they can directly send their questions to.
Yeah, I'm happy to interact and answer more questions regarding this.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. thanks
limitation of time.
a lot for taking this session, and even you have discussed the things in very detail from the mathematical point of view, means the hardware. You have discussed each and every component, how we should think whenever we are going for the modeling of the component. So thank you very much, sir, for this detailed description about the microgrid and their components. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.